Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Friday. It's time again for Romance and Modern Mythology. We've been exploring the Game of Thrones universe, and this week we're going to look at Samwell Tarly and Gilly. Now, Sam was actually his father's eldest son, but he was rejected as the heir, and his father gave him essentially the choice between fleeing to the Wall and joining the Night's Watch, or being killed by his father's own hand, or his father would have someone do that. So Sam, quite understandably, went up to the Wall, joined the Brotherhood, and in doing so he relinquished any claims to his family's titles, and he also swore to take no wife and father no children. So you might think, well, here's an unlikely candidate for romance of any description. However, after joining the Night's Watch and being on patrol across the Wall, Sam and the crew ran across a rather twisted family. The patriarch of this family was committing incense against his daughters, and I mean all of his daughters. And his boys he gave up to, he called them the old gods. He gave them up as sacrifices, and we found out what later on happened to the boys. The girls were kept, the girls were raised, and once they got older, he then committed incest against the granddaughters as well, and it just went on and on. And this really hideous, really vicious cycle. This is the family that poor Gilly came from, and when we first meet her, she is pregnant, and she's understandably afraid. I mean, I can't imagine what she's been through up to that point. But then, on top of everything else, suddenly the fear that if her baby is born a boy, he will be sacrificed, and then on the flip side, if baby's a girl, well, that's not much better off. What happened to her will happen to the child as well. She and Sam end up becoming friends, and then on a later occasion when Sam's visiting that place again, the baby is born, it is a boy, and ultimately Sam and Gilly run away from the compound with the baby, and once they get back to the Wall, Sam makes sure that Gilly and the baby, who's been named Little Sam, are taken well care of. There is a huge battle at the Wall. It severely diminishes the forces, and shortly after that, the Night's Watch also loses their maester. The maester was kind of this wise man, historian, but also a medic. So Sam leaves to go and train to become the new maester, and he takes Gilly and little Sam with him. Now, at this point, they are effectively operating as a family. Sam and Gilly's relationship has become physical, and by the end of the series, Sam and Gilly were expecting a baby, and the implication is that they went on to raise their family in relative peace, even though the family structure wasn't exactly following any of the rules that Sam swore to follow. There's a lot of character development for these two. They came from absolutely atrocious family situations, deeply abusive, both of them outright murderous. I would think that on average, Gilly certainly did have the worst of it, just because it was happening to her, her sisters, everyone. I mean, just she was raised in so much trauma. Yet, despite that, they both turned out to be good, decent human beings. And I wouldn't describe either of them as idealistic by any means. They didn't strike me as being naive characters. But certainly, they were not afraid to see and embrace the goodness and the beauty that was within the world, even during very hard times, even when they were surrounded by who were truly awful. They didn't, somehow they managed not to take that poison in. And because they didn't take that poison in, they were able to find a bond within each other. And they were able to go on and have something that was better, certainly better than anything that would have been predicted at the beginning of their journeys. And I think that's really inspirational and heartening. I mean, all of us have our challenges in our past. We probably don't have parents doing things to us that Sam and Gilly's parents did to them. But certainly we all carry our baggage, and sometimes it is very difficult to extract the poison we've already taken in and to prevent ourselves from allowing any more to, affect our own spirit. It takes a lot of courage to say, okay, something dreadful happened to me, but there's still a lot of good out there. I do not think the bad that has happened to me is going to outweigh all of my life's experiences, and I don't think that it represents what the world actually is. So I think there's a lot to kind of be inspired by there. But that's it for Sam and Gilly. We'll be visiting another couple next week, so I hope you'll come back for that. But until next time, bye-bye.